Okay, we're still here in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, and I want you to look right here, verse 4. This is important because this is concerning the line that Jesus Christ adds in Luke that we were looking at earlier. So understand that. We're going to give this a look real fast here in Luke to understand about this line that has been added. And I want you to see right here. To preach deliverance to the captives and recovering of sight to the blind. Now that is added in. That is not what we're going to find when we look at chapter 61. Okay? We see something totally different. In fact, we don't even see it there at all. So as you can see that even within the scriptures themselves, that the wording is being changed around. Okay, and that's kind of important to understand because so many people try to take it so literal and so matter of fact, and they have to be so stern and so rigid about it that they don't even understand that there has been many alterations of the scriptures. And as we can see right here, that Christ himself is altering it for the better. Now, when he adds in this sign, in recovery of sight to the blind, who's blind? You think that he's talking about people that are literally blind, or do you think he's talking about people that are spiritually blind? Like what we've been talking about with the division of the brain and how this is affecting people's sight and spiritual understanding. Well, that's what I think he's talking about. Now, it's not going to be just in due to that one verse itself, but many verses in the Bible are going to completely support this understanding. So to go a little further, I know that we've looked at this before in a previous video. This is going to be chapter 3, 2 Corinthians, and we're going to start here at verse 13. Now, I've absolutely told you before that the Bible is double. Okay? And I've told you that we are talking about an Old Testament God that is wrathful, angry, and vengeful, that is not our Father. And that is a part of what this hiding of the gospel is all about. Now, when you talk about the gospel, you're talking about the words of Jesus Christ. You're talking about the good news, that we are freed from the law, that we're freed from the letter, and that we are living by faith and not bound by the letter. We're not bound by our sights, because by our sights we're deceived. And nonetheless, everything around us that we see is already under deception. So that's the whole reason for his proclamation, that he's going to offer recovery of sight to the blind. And that's everything that we've been talking about thus far. So listen to this further, and this is going to completely back up. And not as Moses, which put a veil over his face, that the children of Israel could not steadfastly look to the end of that which is abolished, but their minds were blinded. For until this day remaineth the same veil untaken away in the reading of the Old Testament, which veil is done away in Christ. Did you hear that? We're talking about not only eyes being blinded, but the blinding is stemming from the mind. Now, that is exactly what I'm telling you about with the division of the brain and everything that I told you about the spiritual and the material side. Now, we understand that the Bible is terming this as a veil, and a veil is something that is hiding. It is altering your view. So we see that there is a veil that is over the Old Testament in this instance. Now that's exactly what is the veil hiding in the Old Testament? Well, it's hiding the glory of Christ. It's hiding the gospel, the good news. Its proclamation is of vengeance, anger, and wrath, which is hardly bespoken of a perfect Father of love and infinite mercy. And that is why Christ refuses to read these words. So we see that the veil is done away with in Christ. So we see, but even unto this day when Moses is read, the veil is upon their heart. Now, I'm running out of time. I'll come back. Think about these words. There's much more of this, but we're going to move on to another book. I'll be back.